Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're out at the range. Take a look at a U.S. Arms Company AR-15 rifle. There are a ton of rifles out there in the AR-15 space, all competing for your dollar. This gun has some interesting features, has one unique patented feature, which we'll talk about in today's video. But it's pretty much your standard AR-15. It has a machined billet upper and lower with some other interesting features, which again, we'll get into later in today's video. We do have a OSS/Huxwork silencer on here, but we did do some shooting with the duckbill. We call it a duckbill muzzle device, which we'll talk a little bit about in this video as well. We will be doing some accuracy testing with the gun. On top of the gun, I have a Primary Arms Athena. This is a 6 to 24 by 50 millimeter first focal plane scope, which I do quite a bit of accuracy testing with. Really good optic. All right, so with that being said, let's get started with today's video. Take a closer look at this U.S. Arms Company AR-15. And yeah, I think you guys are going to enjoy today's video. There's an awful lot of coffee out there, but one brand I really like is Hero Beverage Company. They offer a number of different flavors. This is their Patriot Blend, which is a dark roast. But if you jump on their website, you'll find out they have all sorts of different flavors. But what makes Hero unique? First of all, Hero is an acronym for Help Everyone Remain Operational. And they give back to the community. So every time you buy a bag of coffee, you buy, we give. And I'll read this to you guys. With every purchase you make, we will directly support those out on the front lines, no matter what the threat may be. We are committed to giving back 10% of our profits via monetary and product donations. So every bag of coffee you buy, something will be given back to the community being America's warfighters and first responders. So check out Hero Beverage Company. There is a link in the video description below where you can find all the information about them and purchase your own bag of coffee. Let's take a look at the external features of the rifle, and then we'll take a look inside of the gun. So we'll start off back here with the buttstock. This is a standard Magpul ACS buttstock. This is a mil-spec extension tube with 6 positions. The ACS stock does have storage compartments and stuff like that in it. It does have a locking capabilities to take any slop out of the stock. And then you have a strap sling back here mount, and then a QD mount, which you can put on either side of the stock. Moving forward, we do have, again, that 6-position extension tube, castle nut. It is properly staked. And then on top here, Radiant Systems ambi charging handle. And looking at the receiver here, we have a machined billet upper and lower receiver. It's 7075 T6 aluminum on the upper and lower. You can see the lightning cuts that have been done to the billet lower. We have a polymer port cover to reduce weight. Lightning cuts here. Lightning cuts around the mag well, also kind of stylistic. Standard magazine release. And here we have an enlarged trigger guard. No winter trigger capabilities. Ergo grip. Has a large palm swell on it. And this is their patented cam lock system. We'll talk more about that when we take the gun apart. The gun does not have an ambi bolt release, so there's no facilities for a bolt release over here. On the left-hand side of the receiver, more lightning cuts that you can see that are done. Standard magazine release, no ambi mag release, and this is a standard ping pong paddle. Moving forward, we have the U.S. Arms rail system here. It's made out of aluminum. It is M-LOK compatible, so you have M-LOK on both sides at the 3 and 9 o'clock position, then on the 6 o'clock position across the top. On the rail itself, we have holes cut, lightning cuts in the Picatinny rail across the top that extends all the way out to the Magpul backup sight, front sight. These are nice sights. They have a great sight picture. You have the rear sight back here. So they come with the rifle. On the end of the barrel, we have their muzzle brake. It's highly effective, but this is one of the loudest things I've ever fired. Even to the shooter, the concussion is violent, but it keeps the gun extremely flat. We will run this most likely with a suppressor most of the time, but this is an option. You don't have to get this. This is something that you can either go with this, or you can go with a standard flash hider. That's an option on the website. And I should also point out that this cam lock system is also an option that you can opt in or out of on the website. The barrel on the gun is a 16-inch barrel, and it is cold hammer forged, made out of 4150 steel. It has a gas block on it, an SLR gas block that is titanium. It has a what they call a medium profile barrel. It kind of tapers down. It's a little bit thicker here, just in front, or just behind, I should say, the gas block, and that tapers down to a smaller diameter in front of the gas block. Again, that's 0.750. Has a mid-length gas system in it, and it uses a melonited gas tube. Since it's a semi-automatic, that really shouldn't pose any problems whatsoever. We'll also point out that the rail has QD mounts on both sides, which are reinforced so that the steel QD levers don't wear out the little locking points as easily or as quickly. All right, so that's pretty much all the external features. Oh, and I should also mention it has a 1-in-7 twist on the barrel. The barrel is chrome lined as well. And then we'll take a look at the barrel extension inside the receiver because there's something else that's been done to that. So let's do that next. Let's take a look inside the gun and see what's going on there. Let's do a quick magazine compatibility test with the rifle with some common magazines. This is not so common. It's a Gen 1 20-rounder Magpul. Whew, that muzzle brake is something else. Drops out. USGI, this is a sure feed. Magazine drops out. USGI 20-rounder, sure feed. Not dropping free. Pulled it out. This is a Lancer 25 or 20-rounder, I'm sorry. Woo! Drops free. Lancer 30-rounder. Drops free. This is a Gen 2 PMag 30-rounder. As long as you keep pushing on the button, it will drop free. And this is a Gen 3 PMag with the over insertion stop on it. And drops free. So it seems to work just fine with most of the most common magazines out there. All right, so let's open the rifle up, take a look at the inside of it. First, we want to make sure the weapon's clear. Weapon is clear. Now you have this cam lock. This is in a locked position. To release this takedown pin, you're going to have to cam this down. Now you can set the tension on this via a little screw just behind the grip here. Now it doesn't take a whole lot of turning of this screw to seriously tighten this cam lock, but you can adjust it to the tension that you want. But yeah, very interesting design. When you have it in a locked position, it takes any slop out of the upper and lower receiver fit. So let's go ahead and cam that down. But even with that unlocked, you can tell that they machine the uppers and lowers together because this pin in the rear is still very tight. With the cam locked, you're not going to get the pin out. And even with the cam unlocked, it still requires the tip of a bullet to help you get that out. All right, the front pin, once you get that rear pin out, it'll come out real easy. Just kind of wiggle it around. And here we are on the lower. So inside the receiver extension, we have an H1 buffer and then the recoil spring. Inside here, you can see the cam lock system. This is the plate that rises up to take the slop out by pushing up on the rear lug of the receiver, upper receiver. Here's the adjustable Elfman trigger, and it's adjustable from 2.5 pounds all the way up to 4. I have it set at 4. I don't like super lightweight triggers on AR-15s. It causes bump fires inadvertently when you're shooting groups, usually. On the upper receiver, take out the bolt and carrier group, take out the Radian charging handle. Inside here, you will notice that the barrel extension is nickel boron. And they've done that to make the gun very smooth in operation, even without a whole bunch of oil. This thing's pretty much bone dry. And if we get that bolt out of there, everything just moves very smoothly. It's even hard to get a hold of the thing. It's so slippery, and it's not even oiled. I mean, that is just crazy how slick that is. So nickel boron is one of those things that I've come to like over the years. All right, so that's pretty much the upper. Everything else is pretty much standard fare. Again, it's made out of billet. Taking a look at the bolt and carrier itself, you'll notice that it has the staked pins. Staking looks good back here. It's nickel boron treated, fail 0. It's marked US Arms, and you will notice that it's also cut, machine gun cut back here. So it has that capability if you have a full auto lower you want to stick on here. Taking it apart, just like any other AR-15, just take the cotter pin out, dump your firing pin, rotate your cam pin, take it out, and now you can see the bolt. Now, I've seen other reviewers talk about the bolt, saying it's made out of Carpenter's 158 and that it's MPI tested. None of that information is either available on the US Arms website, and this bolt is not marked if it's MPI tested or not. So we don't know. All it says on here is US Arms Company. So I just have to take their word for it. Now, there being the other reviewers. Now, again, nothing on the website about what the bolt is made out of. It just talks about the nickel boron finish. And that's something I feel they should have on the website. If I have to call the company to find out what the bolt's made out of, that's a problem from the marketing department, I think. Now, on the extractor, you'll notice it has an O-ring and a plug in there, so it has very good extraction, very consistent extraction. And overall, everything fits nice and tight. Everything's nice and slick because of that nickel boron treatment. It feels like it's covered in oil when it's not. So there you go. That's what the internals look like on the gun. So next, let's talk about the dings that I have on the gun, the things that I'd like to see changed. So overall, the quality of the rifle is certainly very good, but there are a few things that we found to be negatives or detractors to the design and the components used on the gun. We'll start off on the rear here. First of all, it has just a standard end plate. There's no QD mount back here. I don't like putting QD mounts on stocks because stocks change length, and that changes how much slack you have in your sling, and I just don't like that. My personal preference is to mount all my slings to the receiver if possible, and so I would definitely like to see that changed. This cam lock system, patented cam lock system, is neat, but I just tensioned it not that long ago, and after just articulating it 5 or 6 times, it's already loose again, and I have to go back in here and retension the screw. You only turn that screw maybe 1/8 of an inch, just very little, and that will tension this considerably. And so it's very easy to over-tension it and not even be able to get the lever to go closed. So you're constantly messing with this lever if you disassemble it, or even if just shooting it, you're constantly messing with that thing, trying to keep it tensioned properly. But it doesn't seem to be necessary because the upper and lower appear to go through manufacturing together. They're fit together, and even with this tensioning device turned off, it's very difficult to get that rear pin out, which tells me the upper and lower fitment is extremely tight already. Now, that can change with a lot of use, but keep in mind the accuracy in these rifles isn't in the upper and lower fitment. It's primarily in the upper, in the barrel, the upper, how the barrel mounts to the upper, what the bolt and how it engages with the barrel extension, things like that. The accuracy is in the upper. A little bit of play in the lower really isn't that much to be concerned with, so this is an option I would just leave off if I were to purchase this rifle from their website. Moving forward, we have this really lightweight rail system. It's held in place by 2 tensioning screws that pinch a barrel nut. When taking this off, we notice 2 things. First of all, there's no anti-rotational tab or anything between the handguard and the receiver. So when we took this off, we also noticed that the barrel nut is slick and has no knurling on it. So there's nothing but the friction of these 2 screws keeping this thing timed properly with the rails between the upper and the handguard. If you put a vertical grip on here, put anything heavy out here, I'm pretty confident if you bang it hard enough, you'll get this thing to twist. And the pick rail will no longer be lined up. So that's one thing I like to see change, something anti-rotational, or at least knurl that barrel nut so it has something to bite onto that would make it much more difficult for it to slip if you were to drop it or be using it in an abusive environment. Coming out here to the gas block, nice touch. The SLR titanium gas block is a nice gas block. They've drilled, or dimpled, I should say, the barrel. But the 2 screws on this rifle had no thread lock on them. There's no teeth on the end of the screws themselves. They're just screwed in there and friction fit. And so I would definitely like to see some high temp thread lock put on there, or using the screws that have the little teeth on the end that bite into the steel when you torque those screws over, so your gas block doesn't come loose during firing. And then the muzzle device, I would just go with something other than the duckbill, unless perhaps your 3-gun competitor. It'd probably be pretty handy for that. But just for regular shooting and things like that, it's extremely obnoxious. Just go for the flash hider. Don't pay the extra money for the duckbill. So that's the pros, the cons to the gun, and all of the features. So here are the results of our accuracy testing with the rifle. The rifle certainly seems to favor heavier match grade bullets. We first confirmed 0 with some Norma 55 grain ball at 100 yards. And with ball ammunition, we're looking at 2 inches, which is about average for ball. So then we started using some match ammunition. The first group we shot was with the PMC X-Tac 77 grain stuff. Nice tight group. Really high humidity and heat today, and having a lot of mirage issues, 0.8 of an inch, so it's sub MOA there. Then we move over here to some 69 grain Federal. Again, I'm trying to shoot through a pretty heavy mirage. We're running a silencer. The muzzle brake on the gun's just too much. So we put a suppressor on there, and we're having a lot of issues with heat. But the 69 grain Federal, about 1.5 inches. Over here we have some 70 grain Nosler, and we just kept shooting the same 0. We didn't re-zero the rifle to the ammunition. And you can see the group was off to the left, and those two are probably the furthest apart. I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at that from center to center, and that's about 2.5 inches. So that's a pretty big group. Never had good luck with that Nosler ammo with any gun. This is Winchester Supreme 69 grain stuff, and I'm guessing either this one 0.9 or this one. This one's going to be the bigger of the two, 1.2 inches. And again, pretty heavy mirage. We come down here, and this is Federal 77 grain gold medal match, and this was the last group I fired, and at this point this just looks like I'm looking through water. It's very hard to get the reticle perfectly on the dot because it just keeps shifting because of the mirage and that vertical stringing. This is definitely shooter / mirage related, but even then it's 1.3 inches. So with ammunition it likes, the gun is certainly capable of at least MOA accuracy, which is about average for a quality AR in my experience. One of the things I failed to point out earlier is the gun lacks a forward assist. Now, people feel pretty strongly one way or the other about the forward assist. I'm kind of indifferent to it. I've never really had one work the way it was supposed to. So if it's missing a forward assist on AR-15, that's not a problem for me. I'd gladly trade that for the weight reduction. And then you'll notice it has a slightly different contour to its ejection port buffer there for left-handed shooters to keep the brass out of their face. The extraction, the ejection on the gun seems to be really solid and consistent. And in terms of accuracy, it's about as accurate as my most accurate .223 rifle that I have. Here at the Military Arms channel, it seems that the best of the .223/5.56 rifles out there shoot about 1 MOA or just a little under, and this rifle is capable of that type of accuracy. So in terms of accuracy, it's on par with the best of the .223s that I have. It's very picky about the bullet weight. We've discovered it certainly seems to favor those heavier 77 grain bullets, and that goes hand in hand with its 1.7 twist. The cost of the rifle, that's something that I think some folks are going to have an issue with. The base cost is right around $2,200, but if you start adding cam locks and muzzle devices and different colors of paint, you can pretty quickly get up to $2,800. But if you check out their website, there's a bunch of different models out there besides the UTAW, the UTAW, that's what this particular model is, but they have other stuff out there that's a little bit more cost effective, and you can certainly option the gun the way you want it and adjust that price accordingly. All right, guys, that's about all we have to say about this rifle. If you have any questions, you can ask those questions down below. We will stick around for the first couple of days after a video goes live to answer those questions. Also, if you'd like to support us here at the Military Arms channel and have direct access to me where I answer all private communications, please consider becoming part of our Patreon family. There is a link in the video description below. Also, right here on YouTube, you got that little join button underneath the video player you're watching right now. Mash that join button, and you can support us here on YouTube in the age of demonetization. And last but not least, guys, please swing by and check out coppercustom.com. Thank you for 14 years of support, and we'll talk to you guys soon.